We should be live now. I'll just quickly inform on my Discord that we are live now. Okay. All right, guys, give me 1 second. We should be live now. And I hope I don't know why it is private. So let me go and fix that as well. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream. All right. Hi, everyone. Just 1 second. Okay. Should be good now. I'll just pop out the chat here. Okay, I'll share the link. Perfect. We should be good to start now. What did I want to discuss today is quite interesting. I mean, there's nothing that's not interesting. But today, so we have been trying to think about how to add a method to video capture class in OpenCV, right? So how we will begin, right? So let's think about that and then we'll possibly like take from there. All right. So the whole, I believe we have already discussed this to some extent before, but the dream is to basically have a track method on the top of any video capture object, which will essentially take a bounding box, frame number, and a callable, right? What will it will essentially do is look at the frame number, try to look at that particular bounding box and apply that callable throughout the video by tracking this particular object that was found in this at this time in this bounding box. Okay, so and of course, like doing that within the OpenCV source code sounded more interesting to me. It's not something I'm going to create an immediate PR to OpenCV. It's something that I have to check with them as well if ideologically this made sense. But it's mostly for our learning and trying to replicate what we have done so far. So like why not we just begin? So I am in the new wide um, terminal, and what I'm going to do is let's possibly start with a simple script, and the reason I'm going to start with this script is because you will learn a lot, right? What we'll be doing is we'll be hitting some breakpoints to some obvious points where we think we will be starting from, and then take it from there. Okay, so what do we need to do here? Let's just try to compile this thing by doing python path build lib python 3 gdb args, just pass the python path. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do set breakpoint pending on, and then I'm going to break on a method that I think is going to be called, which is grab frame. In our previous videos, we have already touched upon this grab frame. By the way, you could just start with read as well. Like if you would want to hit this on read, you can do that. But for me, I can just do grab frame. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this further, right? So what this is going to do is it's going to look for the grab frame breakpoint over here, and then I mean method over here, and then try to show us what's happening there. The reason this is very interesting is because you get to learn a lot. It's definitely something that you will see, okay, which method is being called, what's the hierarchy and everything else. So as you can see, right, as you can see, I'm at the grab frame method right over here. Now, the interesting part, of course, over here is for us to understand. Let me just disable this for now and understand the stack trace, right? So for that, what I will do is I'll just copy paste this thing, the whole stack trace, and open this in a new tab in a scratch puff, right? And okay, so I have pasted this over here for us to understand, okay, what's happening, right? So if you see, right, it starts from underscore start, right? And so this particular each row is what we're looking for, right? And this is a call chain over here. These are typical Python routine functions, so we don't really need to look at those. Parent file, this is find py eval code, eval frame, this is fine, right? What are we looking for? We are looking for something that's specific to OpenCV over here, right? And I'm already the fifth frame. Okay, I don't see anything specific to our function at least. Right, there you go. Right, so this is the function that I see at least now, which is by OpenCV underscore CV underscore video capture read. Right, so this is being called, which is basically at this Python bindings generator by OpenCV generated types content dot h. Right, and of course the interesting thing over here is that this definitely sounds like a generated file, so we don't need to worry about it. What we need to look at is this particular thing, right? So what happens is understands it has some bindings. If you want to see, I can still show if it helps. So let's try going to this file, right? OpenCV Python. What was the file? I forgot. It was by OpenCV, right? Okay, by OpenCV. I can possibly do. Okay, yeah, I have in git ignore, I have built. Okay, so that could be the reason that it's not showing up. So what I can do is, um, yeah, over here I can just pass the, I can, yeah, I believe I could do this. Okay, I don't know why this is not working. I think there's something wrong. Build modules. Okay, I can still try, right? Python bindings generator. Yep, there you go, right? So let's come here. Python bindings generator, then we are looking for Python by OpenCV generated types content dot h. Yep, there you go, right? This file. And what I'm looking forward to is by OpenCV video capture read. What was that particular method name? Video capture read, but starts with CV video capture read. Yeah, there you go, right? So this is the method that already exists and it's auto-generated, so you don't need to literally read through every line. These are things that you can skip over here, but okay, sounds good. Now, what are we looking forward to is CV video capture read, which starts from src cam.cpp, right? And then it goes to grab, then it goes to grab frame, right? So that's the interesting part over here. So these three frames, I mean calls in the stack trace are important. This one is clear that okay, from Python to OpenCV, it figures out which one to call, right? And that's where we start. So no matter what it does is it calls CV video capture read, then it calls CV video capture grab, and the interesting part is it's calling CV capture ffmpeg proxy grab frame, right? So this is a new thing to me as well. I was not aware there's a proxy kind of a thing. I'm not sure what's the difference between the real class that we saw and the proxy class over here, but does make sense. Okay, sounds good. So what we should possibly do is look at cam.cpp, understandably, right? So it figures out what's the backend and then that's where it goes in. So you can have multiple backends for your files. So just fi, this is right now ffmpeg because it's an mp4 avi file or whatever. If it was a video capture, it would be something else, right? Video capture isn't, sorry, it was a camera capture, right? All right, so that makes sense. So let's go to src. Let's keep it here, maybe. Let's go to src cam.cpp. And just FI, like if you would have seen these are all the backend files, by the way. Like you can see cap underscore pv api.cpp, right? And this msmf ui xsign v4l, which is what you're talking about for the video camera. So gstreamer is there, ffmpeg will be there. Yeah, there you go, right? Images.cpp and all. So these things are quite, I mean, not relevant for now, but this is what I see right now. So video capture is implemented and all these methods are implemented as well, right? So what I am looking forward to understand is read. So where is read? Okay, sounds good, right? So you do have a read method which I hope there's no, yeah, okay. Sounds good. I was looking for any other override as well. Sounds good. So it calls grab, which essentially looks at grid icap.empty icap grab frame, right? That's where it basically calls iVideo capture grab frame. And what you can see over here is this is clear that this is a virtual method, but it's a pure virtual method. Now, what does a pure virtual method mean? That means all the variants of this particular iVideo capture, that means all the backends that are implementing this class are like basically wherever you see virtual it's polymorphism, and they have to have implement like an implementation of this, otherwise it will not work whenever they are instantiated, right? So over here, that's what I was trying to do. I understood, okay, like if graph frame exists over here, I would like to add something like track as well, which is essentially takes a std vector int64t bbox std function mat const main. So this is, what does it really mean, right? So mat over here is a return type, and const mat, this is the input. Okay. All right. So this is a function pointer that we are passing. And interesting thing, by the way, like in the previous video, we have tried using template. And the reason a template will not work here is because template is something that will be needed on, wait a second, is everything okay? Yeah, okay. Cool. I thought something is up. Anyways, yeah. So this is what we have. Template is something that you have to figure out on compile time itself, right? But what happens with virtual functions is it a v table is created, right, for each individual class, not for an object, right? And what happens is at the runtime itself, it figures out which one to call, and this is O of one. The dispatching is O of one, and if like anything is mixed in that matter, then it could still go from there, but compared to any switch statement, it's still faster. Okay, so that's what's happening, and you can't really have a virtual method with a templated function over here just because of the fact. Okay, and you would be possibly curious. Hi, Varu, welcome, welcome, welcome. So you would be curious how it's working. I actually wanted to touch upon virtual functions before we go ahead. So let's go and do that. So I have created a file over here, and please ignore all the Hindi plus English comments here, but I'll try to explain this in English anyways. Right, so what I've done is I've created a struct which is a backend struct. What it does is it has a virtual method, and this is a pure virtual method, right? That means when we compile, so I'll show you the v table that it creates. So that will help. What it will do is you have equal to 0 will call it virtual. That means you have to implement this no matter what. Const char star name, this has a default, so you don't really need to override it. It's totally up to you. And this is a destructor that is normal. Now there are two backends we have. One is GStreamer, one is FFmpeg. Track, as you can already see, I have overridden it with something like return true and just print something. With GStreamer as well, I have like implemented track over here, but name I've overridden as well. Here, name I have not overridden. That means whenever you call ffmpeg.name, it will be calling generic. But when you call for gstreamer.name, it will be like taking you to gstreamer itself, right? And that's the interesting part. So how about this? That we quit from here. I was anyways doing this. Yeah, there you go, right? So what this is going to do is it's going to dump the whole object that it generally creates with respect to the vtable in this particular file, which is this. Now we will go through this for once, and we'll try to see for the vtable as well. So ignore everything else, but first look at the there you go, right? Now this is very interesting, right? So this is vtable for backend, right? And if you see the very first row is generally the offset that you have. So in case you have multiple inherited classes of that sort, this is where it will come in. So this is for now, you will always see it's going to be 0, right? And then you have 8 bytes jump to this backend class. Now this is particularly type info, um, or RTI information. So whatever runtime information you have about this, as you can see, for particular backend over here, it's backend, right? So this is where all the type info information is stored. And there you go. Right now, this is important, right? Y- as you can see, it even names it as pure virtual, right? What this means is essentially, I'll go back to the code that we had. Just 1 second. Yeah. Right. Okay. So definitely look at this, right? So I'll just focus on backend class over here. The very first one is actually what? It's a equal to zero. That means it's pure, right? For backend, you already saw that it says pure virtual, right? So this is clear. Now over here, there's backend name as well, which you basically defined here. This is a V table, okay? And these two are for destructors. I am not aware why there are two entries for destructor, but there could be a reason. All good, Baru, all good. Take your time. But overall, how does FFmpeg look like over here? Now, with FFmpeg, the tricky thing is if you see, it's calling specifically FFmpeg track, right? It's no more mentioning that it's pure, it's no more doing anything of that sort. And the reason is because you have overridden that, right? And if you just try to compare, they both are at the same slot, right? They both are at 16th. And this is the interesting thing. That's why it's over fun. Because to the compiler, what it's going to do is it's always going to hit the 16th slot, right? And depending on the B table, right, wherever this points to, it will just call that, right? So over here, as an example, 24th slot is backend name. Here, 24th slot is also backend name. And the reason this is backend name is in case you don't override a virtual method, right? That will continue to call the base class method, right? In this case, which is backend name. For ffmpeg, I don't think I need to define what this is. It's very clear these are destructor entries. Similarly, for gstreamer, the interesting thing that you will see is gstreamer track, gstreamer name, and these two destructor entries, right? So it's pretty clear like how does a vtable look like, right? And this will give you some idea on what's happening. So I would generally suggest, when you're curious, try to print something of that sort. Ask Claude on how to study this further. These things are very interesting. Okay, so I think for this video as well, this would be a good starting point. Yeah, what we have to do now is trying to implement this virtual method interface within OpenCV and go from there. What we will be doing is we'll be starting off with, I think, yeah, we already made some starting, right? I thought we did. Okay, maybe in something else. But yeah, video capture, grab frame. Okay, grab. And yeah, there you go, right? So you have this in iCap, right? I video capture. There you go. Yeah, so we'll start with this, right? And what I would want is to have in 64T frame number as well, right? And this has to be a pure virtual method. No, I don't want this to be a pure virtual method. So in this case, I would say return false. And the reason I am not doing it this way is very clear because not all the backends will have this implemented, and I don't want any error coming up for anyone else. And that's the only reason, right? So hopefully this makes sense. Let's give it a try. Okay, now what else, right? So this video capture, of course, we have already seen. If you remember over here, it's calling CV video capture grab, and then it ends up calling CV capture ffmpeg proxy grab frame, right? Which is src cap ffmpeg.cpp, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to look at grab frame over here, right? It clearly says it's overriding the method, right? If it's an ffmpeg capture, call this one, otherwise return false, right? Something similar to this is what we will possibly have to do. Hello, hi Swanan, welcome to the stream. What's the matter? Nothing, nothing. How are you doing? Long time here. I'm just looking at graph frame over here. So I could implement virtual bool. Just 1 second. Yeah, okay. So we could implement something similar here. But anyways, like, okay, before we do that, I just want to understand what is this doing? Yeah. Okay, so it's coming from video capture base FFmpeg proxy, right? And they don't really have any documentation here. Have you turned this translation back on? Okay, there's a translation again. क्या बात है? Oh, what's the matter? अरे I don't know. I don't know. I had no idea how this keeps happening, but yeah, okay. My my apologies. Sorry, yeah, sorry. I'll take care. क्या बात है? What's up, यार? Thank you so much for joining. I'm sorry, this is my bad. Um, but I mean, we were just going through this OpenCV source code in our previous videos as well. We have doing this. Um, no, so for you, Varu, for example, like you wrote what translation? I'm looking normal. It's actually मेरे को तो normal दिख रहा है and I'm looking normal. So that's what's happening. But anyways, let's continue. As looking at CV capture FFmpeg proxy, right? We might have to define here as well. I guess as long as I understand what this basically means. Now, before that we do, I would make sure that yeah, okay. So let's do this right this way that we add a method here because eventually this is being called. So I don't think I need to think much on this. Stored vector, okay. Just remind me that okay, it takes as a reference so that I also modify uh, in frame number, and then we also need a callable mat, const mat, I guess something of this sort. The only problem is I'd like to define this somewhere because otherwise I'm wasting my time. So I'll just do how others have done this. I will not think much about this. And I will, there you go, right? Now, this is where the interesting thing comes in because you will have to think about. Swanand says yesterday मैं तो कल 8 घंटे बैठ के enterprise grade and RAG application बनाया end to end. Oh, that's so cool. Which vector DB did you use? So you created a RAG application end to end. That's super cool. What was the motivation? What made you do that? By the way, so it's very clear now that FFmpeg capture is of type CV capture FFmpeg. So we just have to go over here and also define the same. I can quickly do here. Bool. So we don't have to mention virtual, by the way. I hope so because it's pretty obvious that this is virtual if the base class had this virtual, right? So what we can do is bool track const again to the same. Uh, this happens, by the way, like in multiple inheritances, you need to define these things. Oh, you use chroma. Okay, okay. Sounds good, yeah. Sounds good. And you set up everything at your, I mean, locally or somewhere else, like, and I assume you did this in Python. I'm learning in the deepest stage. Rage. Interesting. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is what we have done already, right? We have clarity on all these things, but the point is now implementing this particular thing, right? And once we have something of this sort, we will have to see where am I right now? I'm in HPPA. Am I picking up the right class though? Let me check by going to grab frame. Okay, let's see. It does look like the right part. Okay, yep, sounds good. All right, what I will possibly have to do now is define this somewhere. And I will have to see if they have defined it here. Yeah, there you go, right? So they do have the definitions of all the methods. Like as an example, graph frame is defined here. So what I can do is I can just define things here. Um, I'm learning in the deepest stage. Rag deep में सीख रहा हूँ. Oh, sorry. Okay. I'm learning in the deepest stage. Rag deep. Okay, my bad. Okay, which Linux is caching always very smooth scrolling. Scrolling. Thank you, Dave. Thank you. Yeah. I thought like at least for the streams, some features I wanted to have anyways. And for my stream, it did make a lot of sense if I had some way of showing where my cursor is going. Just made sense. I'm trying it out. Hopefully it goes well. But anyways, back to implementation, right, everyone? So we do want to do this, and we will implement the same thing that we saw before in 64T, which is going to be VBox in 64T, input frame number, right? And then you're going to have a function pointer. By the way, you guys missed out on something from the vtable point of view. I was just demoing the vtable on how it looks like. So possibly we can do it again in some time. I need वो इंटरनेट का इश्यू सॉल्व हो गया क्या लास्ट टाइम वाला? हाँ यार, like I'm using LAN now, so hopefully that's better. On the camera part, I don't think I'll be visible because of the it's quite dark. I just एकदम से डर गए होंगे ना सब लोग. I have turned off my lights. I wanted to code without lights for now. The next time I'll turn on, I need some lights on my face. My tube light is not positioned the correct way. So I have to spend some money there. Less motivation right now. By the way, we were already discussing this, right? We had implemented this before as well, and when we were going through the source code, we already knew that okay, get total frames was a method available to us. So what we are basically doing is, if input frame number doesn't really lie in the range that we want, we'll just return false for now. Later on, we'll raise an exception. Okay, this is just as a reminder for us. I'll put a flashlight there. I have to. So the next thing is I'm going to do seek input frame number, right? Go to that particular frame, and what this will do is it will populate the packet. That is, by the way, if you're curious, I'll again talk about this in some second. So we are just checking if this is not a null pointer, then we just print something which will say no, right? So I don't want to do anything from here, and we will come back to this in some time. सिस्टम डिज़ाइन पढ़ने के लिए किसकी प्लेलिस्ट देखूँ? Swanand, I think for system design, the old school Gaurav's playlist is good, if I'm remembering the name correctly. But very honestly, like there have been there are generally some videos which talk about, the let me just open those if this helps. 1 second, please. Hmm. I mean, there are a lot of case studies that you should do anyways, right? So I would say the ones that I have particularly mm, mm, not these ones for sure. Yeah, okay. First of all, like do look at Byte Go's system design, some use cases. I mean, case studies as an example, right? Do look at whatever they mention here, like what is data lake house, anything that you feel like that you should go through. So definitely go there. And then there is, I'm looking for the right channel, system design interview. Not this one, not this one, not this one. It's happening to the good channel. I like game programming. Okay, good. Still looking for that. Yeah, I think Exponent did have a lot of interviews, and yeah, okay. So this one was good. Honestly speaking, these one have really good interview prep ones as well. They have a website, so if you'd want to. Hi Nihal, Jordan has no live channel. Is it? Is it a channel? Okay. Okay. I mean, take a look if he says. I'm not sure. Okay. Sounds like he has got everything covered. Okay. Swanand, I think you have an answer. But personally, like of course, what I at least in the interviews I've given so far, I feel that okay, they ask you the questions starting from the projects that you've done in your previous companies. So definitely like relook at your projects that that you have done, right, before, and try to understand that, okay, if you had to scale it further, what would you do? Right, okay. I think everyone, I thought you were searching for him. No, yeah, I was like, I was not sure. Like, I remember there was a guy who used to have this system programming. I mean, the channel's name was something of that sort, but okay. But I mean, from what I've learned is like, for example, context palette, right? I've seen people asking me, like, okay, imagine that context palette is something that now you have to take it to billion of folks at a single time, right? Now, of course, in that case, you will not think of it's this one. Okay, Varu, let me check. 1 second. खुल जा भाई. हाँ अर्पित या हाँ अर्पित के साथ यार आई डोंट नो व्हाट हैपेंड लाइक आई थिंक द टाइम ही जॉइंड गूगल एंड थिंग्स चेंज्ड अरे वरु ओके ठीक है यार ये लोग मौका नहीं छोड़ते हैं मैं और जाके खोल रहा हूँ मैं भी पागल हूँ ठीक है इट्स ओके ऑल गुड अप्रिशिएट इट बदला लूंगा मैं बाय द वे ऐसा नहीं है ठीक है क्लासिक या all right, but anyways, one thing that we have done so far is we have implemented the method, right? We have it here as well. Now, one thing, by the way, this is something that I have created. It's pretty cool. It's a Git diff plugin that I used to use. I asked Cloud to build it for me. Yeah, this sounds good. The only thing is this I will have to change it to a reference. Like, or maybe this one is not from me. I'm not sure. नहीं यार I'm going to मतलब not play अभी CS it's अभी I'm off from all the things for some time. You guys enjoy. But okay, sounds good. So this is done, Hannah. So let's do this. Okay. Now one thing is left, of course, right? Like you have to implement this in the HPP file as well. We have implemented in yeah, okay. So we have in cap ffmpeg.cpp. I imagine there is cap ffmpeg impl.hpp. Okay. I think we have already touched it. Yep. Okay. This one. Yep. There you go. Right. Huh. So we already have it covered here as well. So which is good. I think we should be good to continue from here. The only thing I'm not sure about. I mean, there are many things that I'm not sure about. But let's see if it will successfully. Yeah, I was expecting this to not work. How can things work? Okay, okay. What's the unused parameter is there? Okay. That I'll look at later on, but what's your problem now? Struct CV capture ffmpeg defined here. There is some issue. Have I not? Okay, parameter 3 of candidate has type this one. No declaration expected comma. Oh, okay. Stored function is not a type. Okay, I understand. So it doesn't really allow me to pass this one in this cap ffmpeg impl.hpp. So what we should do is we should look at the file and I remember, do I need to define this type def somewhere for for it to understand what we are doing? Do we need to do that instead? Yeah, we possibly have to do it. I do remember in our okay, let's actually look at the error again, right? What does it say? Okay, it's marked as override, but doesn't really override. CV override virtual bool. Okay, is that because okay, we don't need. Have we not defined it correctly? Virtual bool. Do we just looking at other functions as well over here? Track const stored vector int64 underscore t reference int64t stored function mat. It's just look fine to me as long as so this is, and we are at this one, which basically takes a video capture base. Do I need to define it here as well? Oh, it could be that. Okay, so it's missing from the definition over here, right? I think we already looked upon this and we will have to, yeah, there you go, right? So we possibly have to define this here as well, which means that, okay, video capture class has this one, so that it makes sense for any inherited class to override this. So we will just write this down. Okay, by this time, I think I will remember everything now. Int64t, bbox, int64t, frame number. I hope I can define because there's one more problem with this. These all the parameters that you have that are not primitive types or something that do not exist already in these methods, they need to be defined with Python binding conversion. That means how do you generally convert from a lambda that is in Python to this stored function? So this is something that you will have to write yourself, and for this we'll have to do some work. I will definitely let it fail first so that we have some idea. Yeah. Okay, my bad. Okay. Okay. By the way, what are these errors about? In member function, unused parameter, bbox. Okay, that's okay. We are not supposed to use this immediately. Virtual bool, this was hidden. Void traceback stored function, yeah, which does not match int. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. So this does make sense now. What starting with this, what we'll have to do is we'll have to define. Okay, why do we have a pointer track? Oh, my bad. Okay, there's a syntax problem as well. Okay, my bad. Okay, let's build this again. So at least now the errors will make more sense to me. Yeah, I think this is more of an exception that I've been looking forward to. What? Okay, my bad. I don't know what I did. Let me build this again. So undefined reference to CV video capture track. Um, it's clear. Is it my internet or his? No, I think my internet should be fine. Please, I'm using a LAN. I should not be having any disturbances. Can someone please confirm to Varu if it's his internet or mine? Not much we both can do, I think. But yeah, should still good to know. This is fine. So I'm just looking at all the changes that we have done, right? So we have created cap, ffmpeg, impl.hpp, videoio.hpp, cap interface.hpp. We have got it all covered, except for the part where we possibly need to define, right? And then we need to go forward. There's one thing I'm looking forward to is cap.cpp. For some reason, I don't see the changes here. What? It's mine? Oh, it's Varu's. Okay, okay, okay. Thank God. Okay. I thought my internet is struggling. Okay. Did we not define track here? Okay, this is really bad. We should be focusing more on these things. So what this needs to define is essentially how does video capture work when someone calls track, right? And here in 64p, again the same thing. bbox in 64t frame number, and then you again have a function pointer. that takes mat as a return type. Input should be equal to this one. We have callback. Okay, this makes sense. Now over here, we will continue with the template that the previous method has. I am not really sure what this all does at this point, I'll be very honest, but I'm also not very curious at this point. I just want to get this to working stage where I care about and then move further. So I would generally suggest don't waste your time in doing these things. Yep, there you go, right? So you pass bounding box and then you pass frame number, then you pass callback, okay? And you just if return and then throw on fail, right? You do CV error. Uh, I think we'll just do what the above function is doing. As you can see, I'm not really innovating here. It's essentially something I don't want to as well. Okay, I'll just add one method over here. Hope this works. What does it take? It takes a message. Yeah, so this sounds good. So I'm just adding these things over here, and then of course we need to return return the result, whatever we had. Okay, sounds good. We do have a problem, which is a very basic one. You have an if condition without an else condition, and that's generally a life rule that when once you enter, you need to have a way to exit as well. Okay, cool. Now, what's your problem? Binding difference of type stored vector long int to this one, discards qualifies int 6040. Okay, wait a minute. So unused parameter is something we should not be worrying about. In member function virtual bool track const this one int 6040 as it is, right? Binding reference of type stored vector to stored vector discards qualifies. Okay, and okay, my bad. I think I know what's happening. Somewhere down the line, I don't think I had added const. Yeah. Okay. 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 Keep going. Keep going. Yeah. There you go. Don't stop. Don't stop. It'll be good to get this done. So I don't think we will get there. Yeah, there you go. Right. So these things are important now, right? And this is where there's a lot of learning. Now, first of all, we have almost done this, right? The problem is there is a vector int in Python bindings generator, and it doesn't have a vector int 64t, right? So this is something that we'll have to define ourselves. Same thing over here. Okay, did we miss out on something? Do we have const mat somewhere? Okay, so this clearly says what's happening. This just means that, okay, we need to have, let me build this again. We will have to define this, right? So we'll have to define this at the right place where Python bindings conversion can take place. Very firstly, we are in over here. Which file are we in right now? We are in cap interface, right? So when you go to video io.hpp, right over here, so this is a entry point, right? Like this is CV wrap. What it does is it converts into a Python binding. That's what we are doing. And over here, this doesn't need to be in this way. So we will say something like track callback. Okay, imagine there's a type that already exists for this, right? So in this case, what you will have to do is you'll have to add this into a CV namespace. Let's go above and namespace. Yeah, there you go, right? So over here, what you do is you end up defining your own variable with type def that, okay, this root function mat const mat. What it will do is it will make easier for us to also go forward and define this and reuse it everywhere. Okay, so I'm just going to recompile it and ensure that there is no basic error, right? Should just work so far. We can increase the number of cores it can use. By the way, I think one is too silly for this now. how many people? Okay. And guys, like if you're around, do not forget to like and subscribe. Do hit the like button at least. Like hope you all can do that. But okay, so this does make sense, right? So the one thing is about vector in 64T. That's it's not aware of that. Uh, so this one we can fix. What are the other things that we need to fix? Dbox was not declared in the scope because of this, I believe, right? And then you have PyOpenCV2 is not a member because they don't have something for this one. Okay. All right. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to go. Which file is it, by the way? CV2 convert.hpp, Python bindings generator, type content, whatever. Hmm. So what are we trying to? Okay. Let's look at this, right? PyOpenCV converter. Let's try to search about this thing first. PyOpenCV. Okay. Yeah, I think I found it, right? PyOpenCV converter. So basically, it tries to convert whatever we have into Python bindings. Then it has this PyOpenCV2, right, which needs all the definitions, right? And so this means PyOpenCV. Okay, so these are the definitions of everything that we have. I'll be very honest, it's not immediately obvious for us to understand where this all is coming from. I would generally suggest, like, when you will look at PyOpenCV2, right, it also has overrides per module, right? And that's where it gets called. So for us, what we have to understand is this particular template that we had, right? It also needs a PyOpenCV2 conversion. So what this means is you will have to have pool PyOpenCV2. Okay, this one I'm honestly not sure on how to write a method. So we'll have to ask Claude to do it for us in some way because I'm not sure. So basically, what we are trying to look forward to is how to convert. Okay, one thing though we can immediately do is possibly just a second. Yeah, I can at least get rid of something like this here. So at least this should be resolved. I hope my stream doesn't get paused. I mean lagged. Okay. The only thing that will be left forward to is not a member, right? So this is okay. This one I would say we can ask Claude to quickly generate it for me. So what we can do is Claude. Okay, so what we can do is we can just solve this. Copy. You might have to implement PyOpenCV2 in PyOpenCV video io.hpp file. Tested by building in OpenCV in build some dir with make hyphen j 1, I would say, or maybe use 4, okay, and OpenCV Python. All right, so this is what we're looking for. Once this is done, we'll be good, and then we can also let you all go. So far, does it sound interesting? Is anyone here? Is anyone following me? Does it make sense? Have you ever done this before? All these stupid questions that I should possibly ask. Yes. Oh, nice. Food. क्या बात है यार घर का खाना. The generated code needs PyOpenCV2 for CV track callback. Yeah, exactly, right. So it's missing on how to convert this into a Python lambda. How should it understand that, okay, std function should translate this into this, right? So it should write a CV track callback. It should take this method and do it for me. So let's hope it does. Okay. Now this is going to build, of course, one thing with Claude is if it figures is something more wrong over here, it will try to fix it. So let's just monitor. Okay, the build succeeded. Congratulations, everyone. That means what happens is that yeah, never done before. Okay, cool. So build has been successful, which is good. As you can see, super proud of all of us for doing this. What we should do is we should possibly okay. Yeah, as you can see, it says a type that binding generator has no built-in converter for. So the generated codes PyOpenCV2 save whatever fail to instantiate. I added a PyOpenCV2 specialization for CV track callback. Um, okay, it works like this. Rejects non-callable arguments with a proper error message, wraps the Python callable in a lambda. Okay, and how did you check? Okay, so what I will do is I will do Python path build and I will just try to okay, Python path equal to build lib python 3 and I'll just call script.py. What this will do is we have it here. So we have tab.track. Yeah, there you go, right? Congratulations. We do have something already here. I possibly think you could pass frame count here, let's say 10th frame, and then here you will ideally have to pass a lambda. Okay, share a snippet with me, Python that I can test this method with. Yep, something like this, right? So we'll have to write a lambda. Okay, let's just hope it gives me one and then I can try it out. If it works, then that's a good news. We'll go from there. I think things like these are really good if you just do not try to do it yourself. It has defined its own callback. Okay. All right. It's doing more than what I wanted, but it's okay. We at least know that track exists within OpenCV, guys. That's a good news. So if you do test track.py, yeah, life is good that way. I know. I guess so. Okay, so this will work now. Okay, my bad. Python path test track.py. There you go, guys. Congratulations. You already have no op being printed, which is what we wanted, right? So everywhere what it's doing is it's trying to pass a callback, right? And then it's trying to print all these things for us. So this makes sense. Yeah. All right. So this makes sense for us. I think today's goal is done. Congratulations, everyone. We are all good. So yeah, sounds good. Okay, so we are done with the goal for today. We were able to add something, and of course, like we when you look at the differences, it's very clear. Like you added these wrappers for them to be generated into Python bindings. I actually wonder if we needed to define this. Of course, we will have to write. But I was thinking like if we could avoid and just pass to function point. I'm not sure. I'll have to read a bit more about it. But now what we can do is we can start with the implementation. Sorry, one second, guys. Yeah, so now what we can do is we can just start with the implementation wherever needed and we will be good, right? So we have already added this minor implementation in the ffmpeg class. So we'll go ahead and do more over there. Okay, cool. I think this is it for today, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Varu. Thank you, Nihal. What are the number badges? These are, yeah, some IDs they have given. So for each workspace, they generally give an ID. I'm not sure. I'm just testing these out. Like it's they have some options. Okay, first let me stop the recording for YouTube. Okay, yeah, it had some way here. पता नहीं क्या क्या रहता है यार. Like I'm not. I was just experimenting and I thought, ठीक है, it makes sense. Whatever they have, surveillance could be. But anyways, hopefully this was good for everyone. I hope you all learned something new. If not, I'm sorry, but yeah, I mean the plan was for us to do something, and I think we eventually added a function in OpenCV that was from Python to C++. What I can do for you all is, um, I do know that I have. I can create a. Okay, I'll have to. Yeah. So this is something we can do. What we will do is we'll ensure that you will. Okay, there's no. That's really sad, by the way. Cool. Anyways, okay. For the next time, I'll push all the changes to the branch, and you will be able to see all these things. But for now, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Hope you like the stream. Again, thank you, Varu. Thank you, Swanan. Thank you, Nihal. Thank you, Dave, for being around. Hope the stream was good, short, sweet. Ta-da! Bye bye. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yes. Okay. I always do this. Chalo. I'll also go now. I'll go get some sleep. Slightly tired. मिलते हैं. Bye bye. Bye everyone.